If God sees everything, then why do those who hurt you live in peace while you're left picking up the pieces? Has justice forgotten you? Or is God preparing something far beyond what you can imagine? A simple question, but it is the doorway to the freedom your heart has been longing for. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what you're about to hear might change the way you view your pain forever. They thought they ended you, but what they didn't know is that God was just getting started. Betrayal may have shattered you, but that was only the beginning of the story God is rewriting through healing, restoration, and victory. And today you'll understand exactly how He works on behalf of those who have been wounded. Have you ever sat alone, replaying what happened, and asked yourself, why do the ones who hurt me never seem to pay for what they did? Why do the betrayers, the ones you trusted and loved, walk away untouched while you're left struggling with the wreckage inside your soul? You didn't do anything wrong. You were kind. You were loyal. You gave them your heart. But in return, all you got was coldness, ingratitude, and abandonment. Now you're the one carrying the weight of what they did, while they seem completely unbothered. But there's something you need to know. None of it has been overlooked. Not a single action is hidden from the eyes of God. He sees everything. He hears the words you don't even dare to say out loud. And if you stay with me until the end of this video, you'll understand how God deals with those who hurt you and why His justice always arrives right on time, even if it's not in the way you expected. I know how you feel right now. Anger, frustration, confusion, maybe even deep loneliness. You wonder, why me? Why do the ones with bad intentions seem to thrive while I have to fight so hard just to recover? You keep replaying the moments in your head, the harsh words, the way they turned their back on you, the silence when you needed them most. It's like a recording stuck on repeat, playing over and over again in your mind. And the most painful part is that you never saw it coming. The ones you trusted most became the ones who hurt you the deepest. They were supposed to stand by your side. Instead, they became the very reason you lost yourself for a while. And the more you think about it, the more you ask, where is justice in all of this? Why do the betrayers walk in peace while the betrayed are left with scars? Pause with me here and listen carefully. God is not blind. He does not ignore your tears. He is not indifferent to what happened. In fact, He is already working, just in ways you can't see yet. While you sit there feeling like life is unfair, God is rearranging everything behind the scenes. Every detail, every connection, every closed door, every person who walked away. It's all part of His plan. And what you need to understand is this: God's justice doesn't operate like human justice. You want them to feel the pain you felt. You want them to fall like you did. But God doesn't move out of emotion. He moves in divine timing. And when He moves, what happens will go far beyond anything you could have planned yourself. I understand that right now you might feel weak. You might think they've won, that they got away with it. But what if I told you what you're going through is only temporary and what awaits them is eternal? What if I told you that one day those very people who brought you to tears will face the full weight of their own actions? Some people don't realize their wrongdoings until it's too late. They think they can hurt others and walk away untouched. But there will come a day when they understand. And when that moment arrives, nothing will be able to save them from what is coming. That's why you don't need to seek justice with your own hands. You don't have to create a plan for their downfall, because there is one who has already taken care of that. Every tear you've cried, every sleepless night, every time you doubted your own worth, God saw it all. And He hasn't forgotten. The real question isn't when will they face the consequences. The real question is, what will you do while God is moving? Will you stay trapped in anger, bound by pain? Or will you step out in faith, trusting that God is already fighting the battle for you? Because your life is far too precious to be lived in someone else's shadow. You were not created to live as a victim. You were born to walk in purpose. And this is only the beginning. If you continue with me through this video, you'll discover why you don't have to fight alone. You'll see how God takes what was meant to destroy you and uses it as the foundation for your most powerful comeback. But then you ask yourself, if God sees everything, why does it still feel like justice never comes? Why do those who cause the pain seem to live in peace while the ones who were hurt, like you, are left picking up the pieces of their broken hearts? Why does injustice continue to exist? The answer lies here. Pain is not just something to endure. It has a purpose. You may not realize it yet, but the moment you were betrayed, something inside you woke up. It wasn't just a shock. It was the beginning of a transformation. From that moment, something within you began to shift. You were no longer the person who trusted so easily. No longer the one who gave everything without hesitation. You began to see the world with clearer eyes. That moment marked the start of a new journey. A journey that might be painful, but also one that leads you toward a stronger version of yourself. Because pain, if you let it guide rather than control you, becomes the hand that shapes who you are. And that is when you're truly ready to step into the next chapter of healing and restoration. A chapter where you no longer struggle to forget, but instead begin to rise, lifted by the hand of God. You are no longer who you once were. Through the wounds and heartbreak, you were forced to change. You're no longer blind to deceit. No longer handing your trust to those who don't deserve it. No longer giving all of yourself without ever questioning. That version of you, soft-hearted and full of trust, quietly disappeared with every betrayal you endured. Now, you're stepping into a new reality, a world where you must be stronger. A space that demands awareness, discernment, and a kind of wisdom you never thought you needed before. And in this process of transformation, you come to realize one important truth. It was pain that served as the stepping stone to your next level of maturity. But this is also where many people stumble. They let pain crush them instead of letting it refine them. They hold on to bitterness and let it seep into their soul, dimming the light that once burned brightly within. They spend years carrying the burden of betrayal, waiting for justice to arrive, hoping that one day those who hurt them will pay for what they've done. But they fail to realize that while waiting for that day, they are the ones who remain in prison. What if I told you that it's the waiting itself that gives the power back to those who hurt you? Would you be willing to let it go? The most deceptive tactic of those who hurt you is making you believe that you are still their victim, but you are not. You are no longer defined by what they did. You are defined by how you rise and respond after everything. The truth is, the pain you experience is not proof that God abandoned you. On the contrary, it is the evidence that He is preparing you for something greater. Because every time injustice occurs, you are placed at a crossroads. Either stay stuck in the past, or step into the future that has already been prepared for you. The people who hurt you might appear to be moving on, living well, even winning, but that is only how it looks on the outside. While they stand still, you are growing step by step, and soon they will see it. They will look up and realize that the one they thought had fallen is now standing taller than ever. I know there are times you feel like no one truly understands what you've been through, that no one really sees the depth of the wound you're carrying. But God does. He sees every sleepless night. He hears every sigh you couldn't even put into words. He notices every time you swallowed your tears just to keep going. And He has never left your side, even when you felt like the whole world had turned its back on you. Understand this: nothing escapes the eyes of God. The lies they told, the subtle manipulations, the betrayals they denied, even the way they pretended as if they did nothing wrong, all of it is recorded. Every one of their actions is a seed sown into the ground. And in due time, those seeds will sprout, whether sooner or later. Because the truth is this: no one can escape the justice of God. They may deceive others, they may even deceive themselves, but they cannot deceive Him. Some people go through life believing they can hurt others without facing any consequences. They mistake God's patience for permission. But no, He does not ignore what they've done. He is simply giving them time to repent. And if they refuse to change, if they reject the chance to make things right, then justice will come fully, completely, and in a way they never expected. As for you, you no longer need to carry that burden. You are not responsible for making them realize the consequences. You do not need to make them feel the weight of what they've caused. That is God's responsibility. And when the time is right, He will act in ways far beyond anything you could ever plan. So now is the moment to exhale. It's the time to let go of the anger you've held for far too long. It's time to stop seeking revenge as a form of healing Because the one who saw you in your pain is the same one who will lift you up right in front of those who once tried to tear you down. And if God sees it all, if He knows exactly how much you've endured, then why did He allow it to happen? Why didn't He stop them from the beginning? Why did He let you walk through betrayal, heartbreak, and disappointment? The answer lies in a truth that is both simple and profound. Every pain carries a test, not to break you, but to reveal who you really are. It is not a trap to crush you, but an opportunity to uncover your strength, perseverance, and faith. People often think pain is just something to endure, to get through. But in reality, pain is like a mirror. It reflects exactly who you are. It reveals things about yourself you never saw before. It strips away illusions, removes shallow connections, and brings you face to face with the truth. Who are you when everything around you falls apart? Will you let the pain harden your heart? Will you let bitterness take over your soul? Will you become a reflection of those who hurt you? Or will you choose to rise, to look your wounds in the eye and say, I am not what they did to me? Because it is in that moment when everything inside you wants to give up that you choose to remain steadfast. When you have every reason to take revenge, but instead you choose to release. When you could be hardened, but you choose to be soft in peace. That is true victory. And that is also the turning point that leads you into the next chapter of your journey. We've talked about how pain is not just about enduring, but transforming. It is like a furnace burning away weakness and revealing the true strength within you. But this is also the point where many people stumble. They let the pain shape them, but in a negative way. They can't handle the feeling of being hurt. So instead of healing, they let hatred replace the place where love used to live. They build walls, not to protect themselves, but to ensure no one can ever touch their heart again. And in the process of trying to protect themselves, they isolate. They lose the purity and love they once carried. They lose themselves. But that path is not yours to follow, because you were not born to be suffocated by pain. You were created to overcome it. And what you may not realize yet is that this very pain is molding you. It is refining you like gold tested by fire. It is making you deeper, stronger, and wiser. Every tear you've cried has not been wasted. Every time you chose forgiveness over retaliation, you moved closer to the person God always intended you to become. They did wrong. They betrayed. They caused pain. But what God is doing through that pain is far greater than any destruction they ever tried to bring. Because this test was never about them. It has always been about you. There will come a time when you look back and realize that the moments you thought were the worst were actually the times you grew the most. When you refused to let someone else's actions define who you are, when you chose not to let betrayal poison your soul, that is when you truly won. Because while they continue to live the same patterns, stuck in cycles of hurt and selfishness, you have changed. You are growing. You are evolving. And one day soon they will see you, the one they thought they had broken, standing in a place they can never reach. But let's be honest. When someone hurts you, what is your first reaction? You want them to feel what you felt. You hope they see the pain they caused. You want them to regret it, to carry guilt, and maybe even fall like you once did. That's a very human response. But there's an important truth you need to know. Revenge is a trap. It feels like power, but it's really a chain that binds you. The moment you seek to retaliate, you bind yourself to them. You think you're taking back control, but in reality, you're handing over something they do not deserve. Your energy, your time, your mind. They may have walked away. But when you keep replaying what they did in your head, when you live in anger and plan how to hurt them back, you are still letting them live in your mind. And the hardest part is, while you're tangled in those emotions, they may be living peacefully. They're not thinking about you. They've moved on. But you're stuck in a loop of rage. They were never worthy of your love, and they're certainly not worthy of your peace. Remember this. God never said justice wouldn't come. He never promised that those who hurt you would get away with it. In fact, He said, vengeance is mine. And He does it far better than you ever could. Because He does not act from emotion. He acts from righteousness. He sees what you don't. He knows what you can't. He understands that true justice is not just about making the wrongdoer suffer. Because ask yourself this, if they hurt the way you did, would that erase the memories? Would that truly bring you peace? Can it ever undo the past? No, it can't. Revenge, though it may feel satisfying at first, only keeps you tied to the past. And that's why letting go isn't weakness. It's strength. Letting go is when you say, I will no longer let the past dictate my future. It's when you step out of the cycle, not for them, but for you. You refuse to waste another moment of your life on someone who should never have had a role in your future story. Letting go doesn't mean they win. It means you win. Because while they are still stuck in old habits, repeating the same mistakes, you are growing, you are rising. And one day they will look up and realize they lost someone they could never replace. You know, human justice always wants results right now. We want collapse to happen instantly. We want to see clear consequences. We want proof that justice is real, that those who harm others don't get to live freely. But here's what many people fail to understand. God's justice doesn't operate on human timelines. Just because you don't see anything happening doesn't mean nothing is happening. What if I told you that justice began the very moment they hurt you? The moment they broke your trust, a spiritual consequence was set into motion. It's not something you or they might see immediately, but it is certainly an effect. Many people mistake God's silence for his absence. They believe that because nothing happens right away, they've gotten away with it. But they are wrong. They continue living, unaware that their actions are quietly writing a future they won't be able to escape from. The justice of God is not loud, not flashy, and not rushed. But when it arrives, it comes fully, precisely, and unavoidably. And that is also the moment when you must be ready to step into something deeper place where your very life becomes the clearest evidence of how God deals with those who once hurt you. There will be people who end up losing things they never thought they could lose. They once believed they could control, harm, or walk away without any consequences. But eventually they will wake up and realize they are still stuck in the same place, spinning in the same old mistakes, unable to move forward. Meanwhile, you, the one they once dismissed, will be walking forward stronger than ever. Some will be forced to witness your rise step by step. They will watch you rise above everything they tried to bury you under. And that is the harshest form of judgment. Not a single painful moment, but an empty life, a life where no matter how hard they tried, they cannot find real joy, real peace, or real love. Because they destroyed the very things that could have saved them. And that is why you don't need to waste your precious energy seeking justice. Because justice is not in your hands, it is in God's hands. He is working, and when the right time comes, they will feel the weight of the actions they once thought were harmless. Not because you forced it to happen, but because the law of God cannot be broken. So instead of asking, why haven't they faced consequences yet? Ask yourself, why haven't I started truly living my own life? Because while they are quietly heading toward their own consequences, a better future is unfolding in front of you. That is what you need to focus on. Holding on to pain may feel like a form of self-protection. You think that if you keep remembering what they did, if you keep the anger alive, you will never be hurt like that again. You build invisible walls. You replay the betrayal over and over in your mind. You tell yourself that moving on means you're forgiving them, letting them win. But the truth is, holding on does not protect you, it poisons you day by day. The more you cling to resentment, the more power you give to the one who hurt you. They may have left a long time ago, but their actions are still controlling your thoughts, your emotions, even your inner peace. And that is something they do not deserve. Letting go does not mean you approve of what they did. It does not mean denying what happened. Letting go simply means you choose not to let their actions define your future anymore. Because every moment you live in anger is a moment of happiness stolen from your life. And what many people fail to realize is this: letting go is not weakness, it is a weapon. It is the strongest expression of inner strength. Letting go means you are no longer trapped in the past. You choose freedom. You are no longer sitting there waiting for the day they fall so you can finally feel relief. You are strong enough to rise without needing that. When you truly decide to release the pain, something inside you begins to shift. Your mind becomes clearer. Your heart begins to heal. And suddenly, you no longer need to pretend to be strong, because you have truly become strong, a person who cannot be shaken. And the most interesting part is, the very people who hurt you will sense that change. They once hoped you would stay angry forever, stay broken forever, remain crushed under the weight of the past. But when they see you smile again, when they witness you living fully, when they watch you achieve things they never thought you could, they will realize they lost something irreplaceable. Because the greatest revenge is not revenge. It is moving on. It is becoming the best version of yourself. It is becoming everything they tried to destroy. It is proving, without saying a single word, that they never had power over your life. And by the time that moment comes, you'll realize you no longer even care what happens to them. You'll be too busy living in your own victory. There will come a day when those who hurt you, abandoned you, and diminished you will have no choice but to witness your rise. They once believed they had ended you, that you would never recover, that you would never be the same again. But they forgot one crucial thing: God never left you. He will lift you up publicly. He will bless you right in front of those who mocked you. And the ones who deserted you in your weakest moments will see you walk into abundance and glory. Those who erased you from their lives will have to face the truth they were wrong. But the most powerful part is this: by then you won't even need their validation. You won't need an apology. You won't need their regret. You will have risen so far beyond their reach, living fully in your purpose, covered in the grace and restoration that only God can give. God doesn't just heal you, He elevates you. He doesn't just return you to where you used to be. He takes you further than you ever imagined. And those who once tried to pull you down will be stuck exactly where they left. You left with nothing but the distant view of your success, their regret, and the question of why they let go of someone they should have never hurt. And that is how God deals with those who hurt you. He doesn't just judge, He promotes. He doesn't just remove them from your journey. He replaces them with something better. We've already said that you don't need to seek revenge or prove anything. And the reason is simple: because God Himself will do it for you in His righteous and powerful way. So don't waste your energy trying to make them see they were wrong. Don't lower yourself to retaliate. Just keep moving forward, keep healing, keep trusting. Because one day you will stand tall in front of them, not for revenge, but to show them one thing: God has lifted you to heights they never even dared to imagine. There is a bitter truth that those who once hurt you will eventually come to realize: there is no burden heavier than regret. There is no pain more crushing than realizing they destroyed the most precious thing and can never get it back. At first they feel nothing. They walk away as if nothing happened. They lull themselves to sleep with excuses like, "I wasn't wrong," "that person was just weak," or "everything will pass." They believe you were just a fleeting chapter in the book of their life. But they were wrong. Because life has a way of bringing everything full circle. Every action, every word, every decision is like a circle drawn with a pencil in the sand. Sooner or later, the wind comes, revealing the traces they tried to forget. And then one morning, they wake up and begin to feel what they had avoided. They realize their life hasn't changed. They're still stuck in the same old cycles. They haven't grown. They aren't any happier. And they can't fill the ever-growing emptiness inside them. The memories begin to flood in. They remember you. They remember the kindness you gave, the patience you exhausted yourself trying to hold on to, the loyalty they now realize they'll never find in anyone else. And then they rewind the moments in their mind when you stayed, even when you had every right to leave. The times you forgave them when they didn't deserve it. The times you loved without demanding anything in return. Those things they once took for granted now become a silent torment. Suddenly, they feel something they never truly understood before. The weight of the choices they made. The weight of regret, knowing that the one they hurt only ever wanted the best for them. And when they face the reflection in the mirror, they'll see one thing clearly: their greatest enemy was never you. It was always themselves. And you don't need to say a word. No message, no confrontation, because life will teach them the lessons you no longer have to speak. The pain they caused you will return to them, not because you wished it, but because the universe always operates on the principle of reaping what you sow. And when that moment comes, you'll be too far ahead, too grown, too strong for them to ever reach you again. This is why you don't need to wait for an apology. You don't need to hope they wake up. Their own life will speak for itself. And the only thing they'll be left with is regret. Top of form, bottom of form, I know, their departure once felt like a heavy blow. As if someone tore a part of you away without warning. You lost sleep. You cried in silence. You kept asking why. Why did they leave? Why did they betray you? Why was it you? But what if I told you that their leaving was actually a gift? A blessing that you couldn't recognize at first. You once believed they were your destined companion. You believed they would stay. But God sees further than you do. He saw what you hadn't yet seen. He saw their heart, the dark corners you had overlooked. He knew that if they stayed, they would hurt you even more. He didn't let them walk away to make you suffer. He did it to save you. Because some people are not called to walk with you until the end of the journey. They are just distractions disguised as friends. They are just lessons disguised as love. They are burdens disguised as support. And you held on to them for too long. You thought you could change them. You believed that if you were good enough, if you loved enough, they would see your worth. But God knew better. He allowed them to hurt you, not to punish you, but to open your eyes. Because without that betrayal, you would have never seen their true nature. And you would have never realized that you deserve so much more. Now, you're standing at a crossroads. You can continue living in sorrow over their absence, keep wishing things had gone differently, or you can face the truth they were never meant to stay in your life. And what God will place in the space they left behind will always be better. That empty space, you know, is not a loss. It is room for something greater to begin. One day you will look back and smile saying, losing them was the best thing that ever happened to me. Not because they were terrible people, but because they were never meant for you. And the moment you truly let go will be the very moment God begins to fill that space with something you never even dared to pray for. Of course, the choice is still yours. You can remain trapped in the past, replaying the pain, reliving the betrayal, asking questions that have no answers. But remember this, the more you hold on, the more you imprison yourself. The more you cling to what's gone, the less room you have for what's coming. Moving on does not mean denying the past. It means refusing to let the past define you. Because if you continue to feed those negative emotions, they will continue to live and control you. But if you stop, if you choose to release, everything will begin to change. The moment you stop searching for closure from someone who was never capable of giving it to you, stop waiting for an apology that may never come, stop hoping they will turn around and finally see who you are, is the very moment you begin to truly move forward. Do you remember when we said earlier that pain is not the end, but the beginning of something greater? It is in the very moment you choose to move forward that everything begins to change. You stop waiting for closure from people who were never capable of giving it. You no longer search for an apology that may never come. You no longer hope they will wake up and realize what they lost. Instead, you return to yourself. You pour your heart and mind into healing, into growing, into becoming the strongest, most complete, and unshakable version of who you were meant to be. And once you reach that point, what they did to you no longer holds power over your life. And the strange thing is, they will feel the shift. You don't even have to say a word. They will see you glowing, walking confidently, owning a life they never imagined you could have. And when that moment comes, they'll realize they lost someone truly irreplaceable. But by the time they know it, you will already have stopped caring. You will have gone too far, too focused on your purpose, too rooted in peace for their thoughts or feelings to affect you anymore. So why not let this be the moment you choose to move on? Not for them, for you. Because your future is waiting ahead, and it is time to step into it without looking back. Forgiveness is one of the hardest things a person can do, because forgiving can feel like letting them off the hook, like you are saying that what they did was okay. But the truth is, forgiveness is not about releasing them. It is about releasing yourself. When you hold on to anger, when you replay the betrayal again and again, when you continue to nurture that pain inside, you are the one who suffers, not them. They might have forgotten, they may have moved on with their lives. But what about you? You carry that wound every day, you feel it, you live with it. And with every passing moment, it slowly drains the life out of you. That is why forgiveness is so powerful. Forgiveness is when you take back control. You no longer allow their actions to dictate your emotions. You no longer let their past occupy space in your mind. You stop letting your energy be tied to someone who never deserved it. Forgiving does not mean inviting them back into your life. It does not mean pretending like nothing happened. It simply means making a firm decision. I will not let their actions define who I am. It is the moment you stand up, look yourself in the eye, and say, I choose freedom. It takes a tremendous amount of courage to do that. Because letting go of anger is not easy. But it is the path to peace, a true, deep peace. A quiet joy that no one can take away from you. When you forgive, something miraculous begins to happen. You lay the burden down. You stop carrying the mistakes that were never yours to bear. You reclaim the space in your mind that they once occupied. And then you walk forward lightly, freely, as if you've just broken free from invisible chains that had held you back for so long. Forgiveness is power. It is never a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it is proof of the extraordinary strength within you. You choose not to live in bitterness. You choose not to let hatred consume your heart. You choose wisdom, knowing that the burden belongs to them, not to you. So today, give yourself permission to let go, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. When you truly release it, it will feel as if you've stepped out of a dark, cramped room and taken a deep breath in the light of freedom. You will realize you were never actually imprisoned by them. You were just waiting for yourself to unlock the door and walk out. And then you'll remember what they once believed. They thought they had ended you. That betrayal, lies, and cruel actions would crush you forever. They assumed you would never recover. But what they didn't know is this: God is the healer. Everything that was meant to destroy you will become the foundation that builds you. Every loss will be replaced with something greater. Everything that once made you feel empty will be filled with joy, strength, and hope you never knew you had. God doesn't just heal, He restores. He doesn't merely patch the wounds. He recreates you into something far better. What was stolen will be returned in abundance. And the most beautiful part is this: the pain that once brought you to your knees will no longer define you. It may have hurt you, it may have changed you, but it never ended you. In truth, it was a necessary part of the journey that made you wiser, stronger, and more powerful than ever before. And now, you are stepping into a future where they no longer belong. They thought they had left you in ruins, but in reality, they placed you into the hands of God, and He is making you whole. They thought they had closed the book on your life, but in truth, that was only the beginning of the great story God is writing for you. One day, when you look back, you will no longer recognize the person you used to be. The pain will be gone. The anger will be gone. The weight will be gone. What remains will be the version of you that God molded with love and purpose, a version that is strong, wise, unstoppable,